Hello, and welcome to the Humanity of Sales, where purpose meets profit. I'm Heather Hansen O'Neill. I am your host today and always. And of course, I have another fabulous guest. So today we're going to be talking about unity. You know, I don't spend a lot of time talking about politics or uh, anything controversial at all. I'm one who tends to shift from how we're different, our different views, our different backgrounds, into how are we the same? What do we have in common? How are we alike? How are we one? That's unity. How are we the same? How can we come together? How can we come together to serve something bigger? Now, most of the time, I'm talking about how this applies in business, right? How can we bring our teams together to engage and align and move forward toward the same purpose? How can we work with our clients instead of negotiating in a competitive way? How can we work together towards something bigger, towards something better? How can we listen to them and solve problems? How can we go even further? How can we use what we're doing in the world to make a difference, to make an impact? And so that's where I like to spend my time. And with it being called the humanity of sales, we spend most of our time talking about business. But today's guest, while all of the concepts that he'll be talking about completely apply in business and in sales, it's really his book that he recently wrote has to do with our country, right? How can we come together? How can we put aside our differences and work together? So, my question to you is this: what do you think about citizenship, a unified citizenship, working together toward serving something bigger? And whatever your answer is fine because we're shifting from differences to working on that common thread. But listen in, see what you think, and let me know. Subscribe, leave me a message. You can agree or not. That's okay. Just engage with me. I love that. Welcome to the show and welcome to this amazing guest, Chip Webster. So, yes, I promised you an amazing interview, and here we go. I'd like to introduce you to Chip Webster, who is a seasoned leader, entrepreneur, and advocate for civic engagement. As the former president of Vistage, Florida, he spent over 25 years mentoring CEOs and driving business growth. And he is the current chairman of the board of Tampa Bay Watch. And beyond the corporate world, he recently founded Unity in Service Inc. and wrote the book Unity in Service, A Pathway to Responsible Citizenship. I can't wait to hear about it. Let's bring him on. Hey, Chip, how are you today?
Doing great. Good to meet you in virtually.
Yes, I know one of these days we'll have to make sure we have a coffee together and meet in person, right?
It's
So
a deal.
before I ask some questions about how unity, this is going to be an easy jump, ties into humanity and business and sales, can you just tell us a little bit about unity and service?
Well, union service is a concept that has been in my head for decades. And I think as a citizen of a democracy, the United States being the one that we have a responsibility beyond just paying our taxes. And I know if you listen and watch our culture right now, we have a severe trust problem.
Yeah.
I've got some statistics that show how 30 years ago, 80% of the people trusted the medical system. Now it's 39.
Hmm.
60% trusted banks. Now it's 29. I mean, we have a severe trust problem, and trust is the foundation of every relationship.
Right.
And my observation and experience says that when I work together with somebody who's different than I am, has different political views than I do, but if we're working on a project together to make things better, those differences dissolve. I founded a thing called Keepers of the Flame. You're familiar with Vistage chairs. It's for
Yeah.
Vistage chairs around the world who've been doing it for 10 years or longer. We meet every year in Boulder, and it's a very diverse group. I mean, there's people I'm sure we never voted the same way, but there's a great respect, and we're together. We create a magical experience every year. It's our 24th year, I guess, coming up in
Wow.
Boulder for chairs from all around the world. It's because we're dedicated to helping each other. It's not about our differences. And unfortunately, the media and politicians and influencers are focusing on our differences and driving wedges between us. And I strongly believe that as a citizen of our country, when you turn 18, you graduate from high school, you go serve the country for a year, working on projects like the old CCC projects, national parks, working in hospitals, building homes for homeless. There's a million things we need to do, but you do it in a different part of the country. We're also divided. We have the East Coast and West Coast, the New Yorkers and LAs. One of my friends has a map of the United States, and it's New York and LA, and this little tiny sliver in between
Everything else.
have division, geographic and
Mhm.
philosophical, and yet we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, which is continue our wonderful freedom that we've had for coming up on 250 years.
Oh, Chip, you're speaking my language. Here, there's a couple of things that come up and how it relates immediately, instantaneously for me in the humanity of sales. Humanity is is about finding the common thread. It's about seeking to understand. It's about service. So everything that you've been talking about is what I am a huge proponent of. But it stems from, I guess I should say, and it stems from that trust. And in order to have that trust, you have to be focused on the relationship. And we're so focused on how we're different. Being divided is like the biggest thing, but ultimately, anyone you put in front of me, any person that you put in front of me, I'm going to find something that I have in common with them, right? So,
Sure.
yeah, so if we can shift the focus from those differences into the common thread and doing it in a way that you're talking about from a place of service, all of the walls they just crumble and we're able to do really good things.
Fact is that we need each other.
Yes.
We need each other,
Mhm.
and we're being driven to this. We don't need each other, and if you don't think the way I do, you're evil, and that's
Mhm.
horrible. I mean, that's malpractice. And
Yeah.
your focus is on sales, and I think when did a lot of other sales things, and I learned selling is not about me getting you to buy something you don't need. Selling is about understanding what you do need, and telling people. When I became a chair, I'd say, I don't know whether Vistage is for you or not.
Yeah.
If it's not, I'll tell you, and I'll help you solve whatever problem if I can help you do that. But
Mhm.
let's talk about where you are in your business and what your need. And one of the great questions always is where you want to be in 5 years and what's in the way.
Yes.
And that was all about them. And there were
Yeah.
times when being a business owner before, I knew what they could do, or I thought I knew what they should do, but I had to just know this is what you want to do, not what I think you should do. And so, I use the word fiduciary. A true salesperson is a fiduciary
Mhm.
who puts the customer's needs ahead. And I believe if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so true. It's so true. And it's about being there, being present with the other person. And so having the conversation. So let's find out some of your beliefs about like how have media and the decline of kind of that human connection that I speak so much about contributed to where we are right now in this division.
It's a great question. I'm going to give a simple answer, but it's much more complex. when you're in battle, you have to dehumanize who you're fighting.
Okay.
You can't, and this is a horrible analogy, but you can't pull the trigger to defend yourself if you're thinking about, well, this guy might be a nice guy. You have to dehumanize the other person. And what the media has done, and it's exacerbated by people online, have dehumanized. If you're a Republican, the Democrats are dehumanized. If you're a Democrat, the Republicans are dehumanized. They're evil people. And we both know that's not true.
No.
But to sell newspapers, to get clicks, to sell beer, whatever, television time, it's all done from a negative, divisive perspective. And to catch people's negative emotions, which gets them riled up, and it's pure manipulation, and we're allowing it to happen.
Yeah, it is. And when I actually brought this concept of the humanity of sales to the media, a lot of people said, that's never going to fly. Nobody's going to listen to that. It doesn't, it doesn't have enough of that morbid curiosity that is fostered sometimes. So I definitely hear what you're saying. And I guess the what you have come up with is the solution to that. But before we dive deep into that solution, let's look at we started to talk about service. So like
Mhm.
in what ways can community service or volunteering or doing good kind of bridge the differences?
Well, I think if you work together with somebody to accomplish something of substance for the community or for the nation,
Hmm.
and you focus on the bigger picture and the bigger, greater good, you don't focus on these differences. So as you mentioned, I'm on the board of Tampa Bay Watch, great board, very diverse politically, but we all want to make the bay healthier, restore shoreline. Yesterday, I got up early and went and built oyster balls that we plant along the shoreline to have oysters grow on, and then the oysters. This is hard for me to believe, but a mature oyster purifies 50 gallons a day of water.
Really?
Yes, and
Wow, I never knew that.
we now there's a debate how many gallons a day have we created? It's somewhere between 800 million gallons and a billion gallons a day from all the things that we've put out in the bay over the last 33 years.
Hmm.
So we're thinking, I'm focusing on building the oyster balls. I'm not focused on whether you voted for Trump or you voted for Harris. I'm about the greater good. And I think that those kinds of activities uh, create a bond for the greater good instead of focusing on our differences. I'm not sure I answered your question,
You
but
100% did, and even better than I had anticipated because it ties back in. So I have to tie it back to our theme here. So, one of the things when I'm talking to organizations, companies, it's about how when we do good for our people, for our customers, and for the community, that bigger purpose, it comes back. It comes back to us in engaged employees, loyal customers, and profitability. So, what are your thoughts about how now you're talking about this on a bigger scale, like nationally, politically, how can we, reduce the divide and bring people together? But I'm talking about it, more organizationally. But what are your thoughts since you spent so much time working with CEOs on that correlation?
well, just yesterday when I was building those oyster balls, there were three different companies. One was the city of St. Pete Beach. One was Jabil Circuits, and I'm trying to blank on the third company. There was a team. They all had their T-shirts on. They're working together. They're creating oyster gardens together. I mean, it was just fun to watch. So that creates a bond. Um, the best CEOs I worked with, and I've worked with hundreds, understood first you build the team and the team builds the business. And that's about culture. And if your culture is a culture of giving and a culture of support and a culture of making the world better, um, you have a very strong culture. And if it's just about let's get the customers, I mean, I had several people that I brought in and didn't last long because some I asked to leave and some left on their own because they weren't comfortable. But when it was all about making money and buying a deal and running down the competition, it was interesting. They didn't last very long, and
No.
they most of them self-destructed. Um,
Yeah. It's so
so having if you look at the studies, people who feel as though they're part of something bigger than themselves are happier,
yes.
more productive. One of the things I love about the culture at Vistage worldwide is where all the chairs are there to help others.
Yeah.
And nothing's greater than when you go to a meeting and you hear someone say, well, remember you said 10 years ago XYZ and it changed my direction of my life?
I
It's all
love
about
that.
helping each other. And if you go back to why tribes exist, which I talk a little bit about in my book,
Hmm.
we're there for mutual defense. We're there to thrive. We're there to avoid being eaten by animals that think we'd be a good dinner because we're part of a tribe. And we are tribal. It's
Hmm.
not bad if your tribe's doing good, uh, to be there to help each other survive.
Mm. You know, and that's, I guess that leads to the concept that from your book and from the organization that I really want to learn and understand a little bit more and help our audience to understand a little bit more. So it has this model of required national service. And you alluded to it earlier, but I'd love for you to maybe give a story or a little bit more of an example or a way for us to really wrap our heads around what that's going to look like.
Well, first of all, there's 60 countries in the world that have required national service. Israel being and Switzerland being probably the most famous, but we know that that's had a positive, and that's military service.
Hmm.
I don't think we can sell military service in this country for everybody, and not everybody's fit to be in the military, physically or mentally, or
Hmm.
uh, we all need to understand we're part of something bigger. So, and this model is going to change because I am just in the process. You talk about selling. I have to sell a group of people that I have yet to meet all of them to work towards this end. So this is broad.
Hmm.
First of all, you'd have like a 4 to 6 week boot camp, for lack of a better question,
Hmm.
where you get together and you do team building exercises, maybe work on projects, but you turn on, no cell phones. You're there as a group. You would do something. I don't know if you've ever seen this happen in a Vistage group, but sometimes you just sit two on two, one on one.
Hmm.
And the first thing I would just tell me your life story, and if I'm in a LA and I'm from New York, and the other person I'm talking to is from Arkansas, from the farm,
Hmm.
that's that starts the humanizing experience. When I understand that you are a human, you've had your experience, I'm human, I've had my experience. So that starts to create a bond. So the first boot camp or get together would be just getting to know each other on the team
Hmm.
and breaking down these unnatural barriers that we've created in our culture. Then, depending on what I'd like to do and what would be available, you would maybe go work on projects. I'd like to see 1 month of just going along our highways and recycling all the things that are there. I
Yeah.
just spent, I did 5 loops of the US in my motorhome, starting with COVID. This is the first year we haven't done a loop since 2020. And it's embarrassing some states.
Hmm.
My favorite, and I'm from California originally and love California, but the rest areas have these signs, $1,000 fine for littering, and it's just covered with trash. You can
Oh
barely see the
no.
sign. It is trash, and that comes from people thinking it doesn't matter. I think there's three kinds of people. I think there's people who want to leave it better than they found it
Hmm.
and understand we need each other to make things better. There's people who just don't care, and there's some people who not only don't care, I'm going to get all I can get, and the heck with you. So heck, throw things out the window. Who cares? So getting if you went through I guarantee this, if we had national service and one of the parts of it was this clean up the highways experience, littering would go down by 90%.
I bet it would. I bet.
Um, so it's a sense of ownership. And then, work on Habitat for Humanity kind of projects,
Yes.
repair the roads. One of the things that we've really enjoyed is going to the national parks, and it's amazing how many national parks. There's a little statue there, CCC, WPA. They built this dam, they made this trail.
Hmm.
They need to be repaired,
Hmm.
and simple road repair. I mean,
Yes.
having driven in 37, I've been to every state, but these loops I've done 37 states. There's quite a lot of needed repair.
There's so much that can be done. There's so
Yeah.
much that needs to be done. And this is a beautiful way to do it. And you spoke to this. It's one of the key factors in the adventure mindset that I speak to when I'm speaking. And,
Mhm.
and it's responsibility. It's you use the word ownership. I love
Yeah.
that because the reason why there's piled garbage underneath a no littering sign is because everyone thinks it's somebody else's job.
Right.
We need
Right.
more ownership, more responsibility, and it
Right.
actually lends itself to a growth mindset.
Right. Right. Democracy requires that.
Hmm.
People complain about the government. Well, guess what? This is a democracy. The government we have is our fault. We
Yes.
voted for them, and
Yes.
we've made it hard to run for office. That's another theme in my book.
Hmm.
I mean, the way we dehumanize people and, people, you talk to really sharp people with kind of like to run for office, but they don't want to do it to their family because of the lies that are created. Uh, we've made it very difficult to participate in democracy on the political level,
Hmm.
and shame on us. We've almost become the ununited States of America, and the only people that are going to turn that around is us.
Hmm.
Period.
Hmm.
Nobody, we're not, no charge is
Nobody's
going to come in
gonna, yeah,
white
you're
horse to
right.
save us.
No, no, no. Oh my goodness. You know, this is really important work, Chip, and I think it has a lot of value, and I really hope that it takes hold. Listeners, if you are, wanting to learn more about this, we'll put information, the website, how you can find the book, and how you can reach Chip into the description below. So make sure that you take a look at that and you reach out and you learn more because we all need to do our part. And Chip, keeping in alignment with the humanity of sales, where purpose meets profit, what what one thing do you recommend viewers can do or think differently to build more connection, to to find that humanity in ourselves and others?
Listen, ask questions and listen. If you go back in the history of Vistage, a guy was my business partner, Red Scott, who was in the original Fred Cheney group, and then he bought Vistage Florida, and I became his partner. He said, "Listen till you get a hernia."
I love that. I've never
I
heard
was, I was think, I don't know how that connects, but I'll just keep listening. But yeah,
that.
people, you can't really sell anybody on anything until people feel as though they've been heard. And
Yes.
so having someone feel as though they have been heard changes the whole dynamic. That's what breaks down the barriers.
It is. It is. And you know what? It's pretty darn easy. You don't have to have a hernia, just maybe a little bit of blood on the tongue because you're biting your tongue when you want to jump in and solve a problem just to stop and listen a little bit more. It's not that hard, and it becomes a habit that will be such a beautiful part of building relationships moving forward and expanding humanity. Chip, thank you for what you're doing to expand humanity and for coming on the show and for sharing it with everyone. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Heather. Really appreciate what you're doing. Keep
Thank
the
you.
word out there. about
We're going to do it
humanity.
together, each and every one of us. Viewers, hey, why don't you start by sharing this show? That'll be a good
All
start.
right,
Okay. All right.
it's a
Take care,
deal.
everybody.
All right.
That was great, wasn't it? Another big thank you to Chip Webster, author of Unity and Service. I I love how he left us on this. It ties so beautifully to the humanity of sales. When I asked him what we need to leave with, it's just listen. Just listen, right? So if you want to expand humanity, here's your easy place to start. Stop talking and start listening. And you'll do that and you'll deepen relationships as well. Can't wait to hear what you think about it. Please let us know and share this out with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss the next amazing Humanity of Sales, where purpose meets profit.